Okay. Hi, Maya. Thank you so much for joining me today. So maybe can you just introduce yourself and tell me which college you go to?
Yeah, so my name's Maia. I'm going into my second year at Keble. I study English, literature and language. Yeah, I'm from Leeds. I went to like a state comprehensive there, and yeah, I've just finished my first year.
Great. I mean, snap, we both do English then, I guess. So can you tell me maybe about like your journey to getting to Keble? Because you told me that you didn't actually apply, right?
No, I didn't apply. Yeah, I didn't really know a lot about like different colleges and stuff. I like went in like a tiny minivan with like, 10 people from my like sixth form, and I just sort of wandered around. Honestly, it was an open day, but me and my mate actually just went into about two colleges, and then we just went to the botanical gardens and like
Oh.
just sat and had a beer, which was like not the most productive thing, but no one's got priorities in year 12 or whatever. But um yeah, so I ended up applying to Wadham
Mhm.
College because I just kind of I like the vibes, like a lot of yeah, I feel like judging a college, a lot of it is just sort of going there and being like, I vibe
Yeah,
with it. But especially if you're, a humanities student who doesn't have any proper way of judging things other than just like, yeah, really good vibes.
vibe.
Yeah, really good vibes. Um, but yeah, no. So I'd read a lot about like different colleges. So I went to Wadham, and I was like, oh, I quite like it here. So I read up on it, and it was the things I read. I was like, oh, this is quite could be quite me. And then so I did all the application, and I got interviewed there. But then I did a couple of other interviews at I don't want to get this wrong now, St Hugh's and
Hmm.
Pembroke maybe.
Who
Yeah,
knows? They all
I
look.
know, who knows? Honestly, interviews were such a blur. But so yeah, I did a few other interviews. I didn't get an interview at Keble, which was a bit weird, but I think I just kind of was just sort of floating around. And so I didn't get accepted into Wadham. I got accepted into Keble under an open offer. So they basically said, I
Mhm.
think I've got my letter up there on my like board up there somewhere. But yeah, I've got my Keble College undergraduate admissions brochure from my open day that I
Yeah.
haven't changed this dartboard in a while. But I know, yeah, it's not great. But yeah, so they underwrit my open offer. So basically they said if people from Keble don't get in, or there's not a shortage of English students anywhere else, you'll get into Keble. But if there is, if three people from like Magdalen don't get in, you might end up going there. If if there's a gap, we'll put you there. But if not, you can
Wow.
go to Keble, which was like quite stressful because it was a bit like, oh my god, like I actually have no idea where I'm going to end up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at the time I was quite worried because I was just like, oh, I don't know anything about Keble. I didn't even like I hadn't heard of it. I just walked past it around like the open day and stuff, and I did some googling, and it seemed quite nice. It's seemed really beautiful, and I looked at all the accommodation. They have like a lot of stuff on their YouTube channels. So if you're interested in Keble, probably just search on YouTube. There's a lot of tours and stuff. So I looked through all of that, and I was like, this is interesting. But uh, honestly, I feel like whatever college you end up getting along with.
Mhm.
Like you're never going to have an experience of Oxford in another college, so you will end up loving your college in whatever way that you do. Like I didn't know anything about Keble, and maybe if I had, I wouldn't have chosen to apply there. But I'm really happy that I'm there now, and I can't imagine my Oxford experience any differently.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, can you maybe talk a bit more about like what appealed you so much to Wadham in the first place? Like you said, you kind of thought it was your vibe, but like, was there anything in particular?
I think I firstly, I loved the library, which obviously as an English student is a big priority, and it's just really
Yeah.
beautiful. And I looked around all the accommodation. A big thing for me is because I love to cook, I love to bake. Like I cook for myself and my family when I'm at home.
Mhm.
So a big thing for me was being able to sort of have that autonomy and be able to, decide what I eat, shop for myself because I didn't want my perception of Oxford before I got there was very much like, oh, you are in a boarding school and you go and you sit in hall every 5 hours and you get fed like slop on a stick, and I just didn't want that. Exactly, I know it was a bit stupid. I don't really know what I was talking about, but I wanted to have the freedom to cook for myself and cook for my friends because it was something that I really enjoyed doing. So Wadham had kitchens for first years, and they had like a big communal kitchen that anyone could use. and also it just really agreed with my politics. Like it seemed like a very sort of like welcoming and English student that can't speak, affirming place to be. I just and the a couple of people that went to my sixth form applied to Wadham, but they didn't get in. But they said that it seemed like a really nice place. So I think yeah, I just kind of latched onto one that seemed quite welcoming, quite inclusive.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I heard a lot of good things about Wadham before I went, and to be honest, that's what I hear now, really. Like, I only hear good things about Wadham, but that's the same with Keble. Like, I have few really good friends at Keble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, seems like a great college. But talking about kitchens, so
Mm-hmm.
Keble doesn't have kitchens in first year, right?
No, it does
How
not.
did you find that then?
Yeah, when I got my offer from Keble, I was just like, oh my God, like, does it have kitchens? Like, can I do this? And in my first year, I didn't have a kitchen. I had like a little kitchenette. I don't know how to describe it. Like, basically, in your first year rooms in Keble, you just have like one wall which is like all windows, and you like look out over the college.
Oh, that's
And then
so
you have, I know it's really nice. It's the accommodation. Like, I'm not doing this as like, oh my gosh, come to Keble. Keble's the best. But the accommodation is genuinely
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Um, and then on the other side of the wall, there's a bunch of cupboards. So in one of them, you have like a wardrobe, and another one you have like a sink and like a vanity thing. But then in the two in the middle, you have like a little kitchenette. So you have a mini fridge. You have like another sink for like washing up. You have like a really long countertop and like cupboard space and storage space underneath. So
Oh, that's quite
I
good.
just mm,
That's really quite good. So you can basically
yeah,
make yourself a mini kitchen. So
yeah, yeah. So that's what I ended up doing. You're not allowed to bring like a toaster or anything that's a fire hazard, but you are allowed to bring a microwave and a kettle. So I brought both of those, and you would be so surprised at the things that you can make in a microwave. Like honestly, I ended up sort of being the sort of flat chef. And I was like making like four course like Indian meals, and I like made like
what?
Thai curries and like everything. Like we made pancakes in the microwave. Like you can
No
honestly,
way.
because you can cook pasta and rice in the microwave, and when you can cook pasta and rice, you can cook literally anything else.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I didn't find it limiting. Because like another thing for me was like, oh my God, like I can't spend like £8 a day on food
Yeah.
in hall. Um, I can't do that as a
Yeah.
student. And to be honest, a lot of people do eat in Keble for like 2 meals a day, and it is like affordable. But I was just like, I'd rather not do that. I don't want to spend my money on that. But it's a really inexpensive way to cook for yourself at uni. And honestly, the food was actually like pretty good. Like obviously with a microwave, you kind of lose the crunchiness of everything you put in there. So
Yeah,
oh
it's
yeah,
quite
yeah,
like soggy. I know what you
yeah,
mean. Yeah,
yeah. You don't really get a lot of crunchy vegetables. And like second day Chinese that you put in, and you've got your spring rolls, and they're just a bit sad and deflated and
yeah.
wet. But that's my only problems with the microwave system at Keble.
So how much would you say then that you ate in hall on average? Like,
On an average week, my favorite meal in Keble Hall is like by like absolute miles. The brunch that they do on Saturday and Sunday mornings, like I could write like pages of poetry about this brunch. Like it's just
because it's
amazing.
good.
It's so good. It's so good. It's genuinely every item they have, sausages, veggie sausages, bacon, hash browns, tomatoes, mushrooms, eggs, fried eggs, scrambled eggs, blah 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 blah. Like they have waffles, they have pain au chocolats, they have croissants, they
No.
have cereals, they have apples, they have toast. Honestly, literally everything. They have everything, and every item is between about about 50p and about 80p.
Oh,
So
so
yeah, you can literally get like a full English for brunch for £3, under £3. The most I've ever spent on a Keble brunch was probably about £5.50, and I was just sort of it'd been a tough week, and I was recovering from the night before, so I sat there with my like 4 plates of food. I had like a waffle for starters, and then I had a pan of chocolate for dessert. I had like a coffee and an orange juice, and then a full plate, my corn sausages, my beans and my hash brown, whatever. And like I was just sat there for about 45 minutes, just like, no one talk to me, no one talk to me. But yeah, no, the food in hall is like genuinely, it's really good. It's generally pretty well priced. It's pretty affordable. You can have most meals for under £3 or under. Obviously it changes, and I don't know how much it's going to be now because of COVID and stuff. But yeah, in general, I think the food in hall's pretty good. And I'm a vegetarian, so I was a bit worried about like, oh, I'm only going to be able to eat like wet carrots and like with like a sauteed pesto on
lettuce.
I know, a pile of lettuce, yeah. But it's not like that at all. And they cater for like pretty much all dietary requirements if you like let them know. So like my college wife is a celiac, so she gets gluten-free bread for every meal. She gets blah 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 blah. So they're really good.
Yeah, that's really good. And I've heard as well that you guys can eat at the cafe slash bar. I mean, what do you think of that?
Yeah, the cafe bar is so good. We have kind of like, it looks a bit like a spaceship from the outside.
Yeah,
like,
I've been there a few times.
Yeah, no, it's the weird building of just like all these like rows of glass. So it's very modern, and then on the inside it's like, industrial or whatever. I don't know anything about architecture. I'm literally just like making this up. But so the cafe is open. I think it's open Monday to Saturday and it's closed on Sunday or something. But yeah, it's really affordable. They do like, homemade pizzas for a fiver, and like you can get they do yogurts there which are really good, but everything is like very reasonably priced. I know it's just a really random thing because like someone after like an English class was just like, do you want to go get a yogurt at the bar? And I was like, it's a bit weird.
Go on.
Right. Yeah, if you say so. And then ever since then, me and all my English cohort, like after a big class together, we'll all go to the bar and like grab a coffee and a yogurt and a pizza together. But honestly, it's a really nice space and everything's really like reasonable. So they do, bars of chocolate and paninis, coffee, tea, blah 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 blah. They do some like bakery items as well, which are the ones from Hall that they do on brunch. But yeah, it's a really nice space as well to come and chat with mates after a class, or even coming to work. Like a lot of people just come and sit in there during the day to work, and then at night the bar opens. The bar opens at about 4, but yeah, I know they know what the students need, don't they? Yeah. I don't think I've caved in and got a drink at 4 p.m. on a sort of Wednesday yet, so I think
I probably would if my college bar was open that early, but it's unfortunately
it's not. You're missing out. Clearly, come to Keble, get a drink at 4 p.m.
I've heard actually at Mansfield that the bar is open from like 12. Like,
oh my god! Wow, that's it. A college bar crawl starting at Mansfield after lunch. You get lunch at Mansfield at like 12 p.m.
Then straight on the drinks.
Oh, no, crawl out of the English faculty, 11:40, and then go straight to Mansfield for a pint. Literally. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, moving on from that, do you think the bar is quite an active space? Because I've interviewed a few people from Keble and they've been like, it's a really nice building, but like sometimes it can be a bit dead in there. I don't know.
Yeah, it really depends, because sometimes you go in and it's like, your group of mates, another group of mates, and then 2 lads playing pool. And then sometimes you go in and you can't get a seat. It just really depends on the day. And like if there's an event, like a lot of like societies have like formals at Keble because it's got a really, really big hall. Yeah, just a flex. And I think it might be the biggest one in Oxford, but I feel like they probably just lied.
So nice. I've been there once and it's massive. I thought it's basically like a cathedral in there. Like
it is. It's because it's the same architecture as the actual Keble Chapel, and it's just like you just sit in both of them and you're like, this is such a big building. Why is it so big? But so a lot of people have formals at Keble and then come to the bar afterwards. So then when you go on one of those days, you're just like, I've never seen any of these people in my life. Like they're all post-grads and I've never met you, but the bar's really busy. But yeah, it just really depends on the day. But honestly, it's kind of nice when it's a bit quieter because, it means you have the pool, you get the pool table, you get the pool table. Yeah.
I mean, so can you talk a bit about like societies? Are you involved in any at like Keble level or mainly just like uni wise?
I'm not involved with any in Keble, partly because most of the ones in Keble are sort of music based or sports based, and I am neither. I'm talented in neither of those things. No, but on a uni-wide level, um, there are a few societies that I'm involved with, but there's none that I'm like, on the committee for or anything. But I go to the feminist debating society quite a lot
Okay.
on a Monday. Yeah, Liberation Liquor. So that's always good. And it's just like a really nice thing to go to with friends, and
Yeah.
it's like £3 for like unlimited drinks all night. That's a really fun one to do. And it's like a good mix of like sort of seriousness and having fun with your friends and meeting a lot of people. Everyone there's really friendly. Um, Last term, well, not last term, actually, Hillary. It feels like Hillary was last term, but it actually wasn't because
Yeah,
there's.
it does feel like it was.
Yeah, I
Like we
know.
only got 2 terms.
I know, literally. It's weird. But over Hillary, I did like life drawing classes at the Ruskin School of Art. And it was
So
like,
cool.
yeah, it was like 40 quid for like 3 hours a week for all of term. Um, and they gave you, all of the like provisions. It was not 40 quid a week, it was 40 quid for the whole term, by the way. I was not paying 40 quid a week.
Yeah.
I'm not insane. But yeah, so I did that just because I did like art up until A level and I was really, really missing it. But that was just honestly a really, really nice outlet because I feel like with Oxford, you often are so involved with your college and you have this like really amazing, well, at least I had this like really amazing, like tight knit set of friends there and set of, classmates, and we'd just be very immersed in Keble. But it was really nice to be able to sort of do something by myself outside of that space and just have a break from the place where I sort of lived and worked and, cleaned and cooked and did everything. It was really nice to sort of get outside of that and see a bit more of Oxford and see, some people I wouldn't have met otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't know that the Ruskin actually does that. So I might
Mm.
actually do that.
No, you should sign up. It's honestly brilliant. It's so fun. There's just like all of these like dancers, and they're just like, oh, track the movement with your heart. Listen to the
That's
sound.
sick.
It's
That's
so
so
like
sick.
hippie-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Mm.
went to a few life drawing classes at Christchurch.
Oh,
Oh
really?
my gosh, that place
Hmm.
is a maze. Like
Yeah.
I literally turned up late. I only went to 2 of them. I turned up
Hmm.
late both times because they were put in like this bizarre room, like right at the top of
Oh, yeah.
this like section of
Mhm.
honestly, it took me so long to find it. That was fun, but like I
Mhm.
do think my biggest thing is I kind of wish there were more arts things that you could
Yeah,
like do in college. And I was
completely.
actually quite interested. Are you the arts rep next year?
I am.
Well,
Yeah.
arts rep at
No.
Swans. Woo!
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, yes. We should do a collaborative thing.
yeah,
Like,
we should. I mean, tell me
definitely.
about that. Like, why did you want to go for that role in keyboard?
Um, I just I didn't really I like got to keyboard and I had no idea about any of the JCR. I was just like, okay, I guess there's like a president and a secretary, but they both sound
Yeah.
boring. But yeah, I know. I'm such a humanities student. I'm just like administration, no thanks.
No, thanks.
Um, but in so Keble every year does this thing called the Keble Arts Festival, which runs in like seventh week of Hillary,
Hmm.
and basically I went to like loads of events there. So they had a life drawing class, they had like film screenings, they had a tarot like workshop which was like amazing. They had calligraphy classes, they had like an art themed bop, and everyone had to dress up like a work of art and stuff.
Sick.
But
That's so cool.
yeah, it was so cool. And then they made like a little magazine just like for that week. So like everyone from Keble like submitted um like poems and essays and extracts from plays and paintings and photography and blah blah blah, blah. But um that was all run by the previous arts and publications officer, Verity. Big up Verity, she's a legend. But I sort of saw that and I was like, oh, that's actually something I really enjoy doing, and that's something I can relate to. And it's still sort of a JCR position, but it's a lot more creative, it's a lot more fun, it's a lot more me. But I sort of did a bit of reading up on the role, and I chatted to the previous officer, and honestly, it just sounded like just the right fit of like, so the publications bit is, publishing the magazine. I'm going to set up like a termly magazine. Um,
Okay.
and then also doing like the Keble Instagram followers, yeah, JCR Insta. I can't remember what it's called. Oh god, this is embarrassing. But
College
yeah,
JCR,
Keble
possibly.
College JCR. That's it. That's the one. That's us.
There you
Yes.
go.
But yeah, so it's just like a good mix of sort of editorial stuff and also, you know, encouraging like arts and creativity on a sort of college level. Mm.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's, for me, that's the biggest thing I kind of wish that was improved,
Yeah.
college wide. Because I did it for A level as well. I did art, and
Mm.
then I went to uni. Obviously, English is a very creative subject,
Mm.
but you just read loads of books. And then I was like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually haven't painted or done anything in so long, and I miss it so much.
yeah,
And yeah,
completely.
that's what I'm trying to improve for St. Anne's next year, and
Mm.
try and get more like journal stuff out there, publications
Mm.
and stuff, basically like you. So
Yeah, well, because absolutely, because I feel like on a sort of collegiate level, like all of the societies are focused on, yeah, on like sport or choral stuff, and I don't feel like there are any societies that are, you know, relaxing and non-competitive. Because like obviously, like choral isn't competitive, but it is like it's
yeah.
very intense, especially at Keble. They do like 3 performances a week, like, and they
Oh,
practice every day. I know it's crazy. I've got a friend that does it, and I'm just like, where are you finding this time? And she does PPE, and I'm just like, what is wrong with you? Like, how are you doing well? Like, how do you have this much stuff and you're still like a functioning person? But I think I just like you, I just want there to be like more, just sort of like creative outlets for people. Because like a big thing I want to introduce is, um, so like the Keble welfare team is honestly like brilliant. So there are like 2 welfare reps, and like my best friend's just one of my best friends. Sorry guys. Has just got the like male welfare position, and like honestly, like all the welfare teams just so like kind of welcoming. But for me, like there are times when I probably should have gone and spoken to like a welfare member or a team supporter, but I didn't because like there's no icebreaker and there's no like reason to go and see them other than just being, you know, sitting down and being like, I have a problem. But so for me, I want to do sort of like arts and crafts with the welfare officers and do like arty
yeah,
welfare teas. So,
I wanted to
you know,
do this.
yeah, oh my gosh, no, we're the same person. This is horrific. Um, but, you know, doing like watercolors and, you know, having a brew and just talking with people around you. Because I just think, you know, Oxford, we all love it, but it is, you know, it's hard work. And I think we need to do better at encouraging a culture that isn't so work orientated and isn't, you must do work to your own detriment. Like, I think it's good sometimes to take a step back and, you know, be present with the people around you and do something creative and do something, you know, physical and use, you know, parts of your body that, you know, aren't your brain, you know.
Definitely. And I think like I took part in a few of the arts society events, but it would be really quite stressful. Like Lily and I, who's one of my friends, we wanted to always go for like a kind of bit of downtime, a bit of
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic painting and things. You go and it'd be like packed, and like you'd have to like scramble to get like brushes and paint and like canvases, and be like, you have 1 hour, go. And then you're like, ah. And I
Yeah.
kind of want to do like be able to do college stuff that's like a lot more relaxing, that can be like Bob Ross painting tutorials and like
Yes, we
really
had one of
chill
those in
stuff.
freshers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. I really back that. And yeah, I'm hoping to do kind of the same thing at Anne's.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of moving back onto welfare, what events are there in place at Keble at the moment? Like are there welfare teas? What kind of goes on?
Mm. Yeah, there's a welfare tea, I think about once a week. And you know, the welfare supporters from the year above, so nice, honestly, like such lovely people. They really went out of their way to get to know everyone. But so they'd host a tea, people would come along, and then they also did a welfare tea, but they did it in Green's, the cafe on St Giles. So you'd go and you'd get like a free cup of coffee. It's like, do you know where the Oxford is on St Giles?
Yeah. I know where St.
Yeah,
John.
it's yeah. It's I think it's like on one of the sides of
Mm-hmm.
Oxfam near there. But yeah, so they do a lot of stuff like that, and then they also had like a dog that would come in like you know, a couple of times a term that people would come and pet. It was so cute. Um, and they'd have, honestly, I'm not the best person to talk to. I like never went to any of the welfare things because I was just like, no, I'm fine.
I'm
Um,
fine.
yeah, I'm
It's your
fine. I've
classic Oxford
got
student.
stuff to do. Classic Oxford student. I'm not gonna, you know,
I've no time for that. But
no. Um, but yeah, no, they're just generally like very present, and there'd be like a lot of stuff going on in the bar that like they'd go to. Yeah, they're just kind of around a lot, and they were always, very like DM me at any time, and we'll come and have a chat with you.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the structure at most colleges. Like,
Mm,
have quite a good welfare system in place, but it's like for when you need it. I think
mm,
next year I know I'm gonna turn to, I think, welfare a bit more. Like now
mm.
that I've done this internship, I've kind of
Yeah.
learned like what
Mhm.
an amazing welfare system there is in place, even at my college, that I just didn't
Yeah.
really like. It's my own fault. I just didn't really listen that much in Freshers Week.
Mm.
I was just,
No.
it
Yeah.
all went over my head. So
Obviously, it just does that at freshers, doesn't it?
yeah. And then after that, I was just like, I'm fine. And
I'm
then
fine. Yeah, I've got an ethics
the
right.
workload was really stressful. Yeah,
Mm.
I don't know, but I'll definitely, I don't know, I want to get more involved with that next year at
Mhm.
my college. And it sounds
Mm.
like at Keble there's quite a good welfare system in place too.
Mm. Mm.
But yeah, I do think it's a very important thing to most Oxford colleges, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because they do respect that the workload's so hard.
Mm.
So kind of turning away from that, and these are more maybe pressing questions. So how do you think the diversity is at Keble College?
Uh, I came from a background which was um, like a huge, like 3,000 person, like sixth form, which was like in Leeds City Centre, which was like very diverse and a lot of, people from all over the world. And, I was not like, you know, it was just like a very, very diverse place. And I was expecting to come from there and go into Oxford and it to be like very white, very middle to upper class, very sort of southern centric. And I was just expecting it to be like nothing like my experiences with education beforehand. But I got there and it was a lot more diverse than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
Um, it's, I think Keble is sort of average in terms of like BAME admittance. I think it's on about 19%, and like the national average is like 18 or something. So it's not great, but it's not terrible. And I do think it really varies year by year because my year is like really, really diverse, like one of the most in Keble currently, but the year above us is like a lot whiter.
Yeah.
Um, so I do think it depends year to year. And I also feel like they probably realise, they probably, are aware of when they have quite a white year and then they are making the steps to be more inclusive with their access programs and trying to encourage people of colour to apply. In terms of sort of north-south divide thing, because like I was expecting to show up and like not have there be like anyone else from like north of Birmingham, which isn't entirely incorrect. Keble is not like a great college when it comes to sort of like state school versus private school, that stupid debate.
Yeah.
I think it's something like 46% private and like
Yeah.
54% state, which is like, I think is lower than, actually, I think it might even be worse than that. But yeah, it's not great. And
Great. Yeah.
I kind of showed up and I was like, oh, there are actually quite a lot of people here that are exactly what I imagine people from Oxford to be like. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like I showed up and every single stereotype of Oxford was just like absolutely destroyed. Um, but those kind of like Oxford types, that's not everyone. Like I've managed to come from a background where like, like out of like 3,000 students, like two people a year were getting into Oxford or Cambridge.
Yeah.
And I'd managed not 2,000, like 1,500. But anyway, numbers. I'd
What?
managed to come from that sort of background and still find people that I really get on with, and I found friends. And I think, um, regardless of the kind of like breakdown of your college, like you will find your people. There are definitely some colleges that are like more state school friendly or more BAME friendly or more LGBTQ friendly, Wadham being in mind for the last one, and Mansfield for state schools.
Oh, yeah.
It really depends from college to college. I found Keble to be a lot more diverse than I thought it would be, but I have like one friend that's from the north, and there were like three other people in my year that are from Yorkshire. But so it's not great, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I agree with you like 100% there. I mean, I had a similar-ish experience, but I was very naive, as in I went from where I live, which is on the Wirral. I don't know if you know where that is. It's near Liverpool. Um,
Oh, right, yeah.
I went to Oxford and I was like, everyone will be the same, like it'll be fine. Like there are no stereotypes, like everything
Yeah,
tells me that there are no stereotypes, nothing. So I went
yeah,
there and like everyone was Southern. I was like, oh my days. Like to me it was a huge shock because I hadn't prepared myself for the worst, maybe like you had. Um,
mm,
but yeah, I do think I agree with you with what you said there, maybe with it depends on year to year, because actually the two second years that I interviewed at Keble both said that their year is quite undiverse and maybe a bit private schooly. But then they
mm,
did emphasize that Keble, exactly what you said, Keble's, I think, aware of that and is really trying to press for this like access scheme. And yeah, I mean, your year, I think might be more diverse. I think you're probably
yeah,
very right in that. And it is just one thing that varies year on year. Like my year at St Anne's, I'm pretty sure is quite a bit more diverse this year than it was last year.
mm,
So yeah, it does just depend on college. I would
mm,
say there are yeah your typical colleges where you can go to, which are really good for access. Mansfield, yeah, Wadham does have the really good reputation for LGBTQ plus. I mean, can you talk about that maybe a bit at Keble? Like, what is LGBTQ plus representation like there, and like, is there much for people to reach out to?
they do. There are two LGBTQ reps in the year above. Now, in this year, there's only one, just
Uh,
because I actually ran and I actually ran and I got elected in, but then I had to drop it because I was doing arts and publications, and they were like, "You can't have two positions on the JCR," and I was like, "Oh damn!" But it's not great. It's not great. There's not. I think there are a lot of people at Hebel, but I just feel like there's not been a push to have a sort of program that gets people to meet each other. There's no like, in like a lot of colleges there is like an LGBTQ sock, but there isn't at the minute at Keble, which is something that I have tried to push for, and I've like I think we are going to try and get done this year,
Mhm.
but there isn't one at the minute, which just means that you know individuals, but you don't know people as a group. There's no sense of community within Keble, which I think is quite a problem. Just because there are other colleges where that is like quite a priority, and obviously with that being put in place, um, there's kind of like no necessity that you will get to know anyone else in your year that's like LGBT Q plus, and there's no so like there are like quite a few people who you know don't have any LGBTQ friends and like might feel quite alone in that, and I feel like
Yeah.
that's something that definitely needs to change, just because like um sort of on an Oxford wide level there is like a sense of community, but I feel like that's quite a difficult community to engage in if you don't have that community immediate within your college.
In your college, yeah.
um, because Keble, they do have sort of like so like one of the main events for the LGBTQ stock is Tuesday night prees for the sort of like club night at the Gay Club Plush, and they do that at Keble quite a bit just because we have quite a big bar, um, but on a sort of like smaller level that I would go to events and I'd be like the only first year and stuff like there's not
Okay.
it's not as good as it could be, but I think like we're working on making it better. Um, but I think we just it's yeah, it's a difficult one because
Yeah,
there's
I agree.
mm,
I think like entry level, like just to have something put in place in college is just such a great way in which you can really make friends in the first instance. Like I
mm,
do have a few friends who also kind of say the same thing, like about St Anne's. They kind of wish there
mm,
was something easy that was put in place so
yeah,
they could meet more people
completely.
in the community.
Mm,
But yeah, that's interesting because actually, from my research, it seemed that
mm,
Kew had quite good LGBTQ support because, like I said, they also have like welfare teas or something for the community. But maybe that's a lie.
I have not heard of that happening. That's not to say it doesn't. It might be happening in Keble, but I've not heard of it happening, and I've not been to one. But
So
they
is
might
it
be
just the
running.
police then, or is there anything else that goes on? Like, do you have
Oh no,
formals or something?
no. There used to be an LGBT formal, but they got rid of it, which is annoying. But they're working on bringing that back this year, and they're also trying to do like a women's formal. So like, because this year we had a diversity formal, which was just like a bit of a weird name. But basically, the ACS choir came and sang, and it was really nice. But I think they're trying to work on, rather than just having sort of like one homogenized, like this is the formal for the diverse people, having some individual ones, for
Ones.
people of color, especially black students with ACS, that the link being there, and an LGBTQ formal and a women's formal. I think all of that needs to happen, and I know all the people on the committee this year, and I know that they really care about their positions and they want to make these changes. Obviously, now with COVID, no one really knows what's going to happen, but
Yeah,
they
obviously.
do. No, sorry. Get back to your original question. They do have regular events, but it's not so much. I don't think they're teas. I think it's more like a pizza night. Like
Okay.
they have a pizza night where you can come and drink. Usually on a Tuesday night before Plush again, or that's a smaller one just for people in Keble though, because the drinks one tends to be like everyone from LGBT stock. They also have LGBT movie nights, but again, I don't think there's been enough of a push for the LGBTQ reps to kind of establish a community and a link with all of the people across Keble. So I feel like there's
Yeah.
not so much of, like, at least for me, I didn't really want to go to events where I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
So I think that this year we're going to try and direct people towards the Rainbow Parenting Scheme, which is a way for incoming LGBT freshers to have like rainbow parents that will help look after them and introduce them to kind
Oh,
of the
that's
community in
great. That's such
Oxford.
a good idea.
Yeah, it's a really good program.
Is that just at Keble then? Because I haven't.
No. That's across the university.
Okay.
So you can apply to be a rainbow parent. So you have to get like married, and then you get kids on results day. Well, no, I think that when the results get in, sort of incoming freshers can apply. But
Hmm.
I think that's something that's a brilliant scheme, but it's just not
Yeah.
advertised enough. Like, because like I didn't know about it when I was coming, and I was just like, I want some kids now. So I think I might get some kids as long as people in Keble apply. But yeah, I think that's a brilliant scheme that needs to be advertised more, because that is something that does encourage community, especially sort of like between years.
Definitely. I think that's such a good idea. I really don't think I've heard of that. I might actually pass that on to my friends and see if
No,
they.
you definitely should, because I think it probably will be up and running in St Anne's as well, because I think it is
Oh
an
yeah.
LGBT sock thing rather than a sort of collegiate thing.
Yeah.
So it should be running across like all of the different colleges.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of brings me on to one of my last questions,
Mm-hmm.
which is okay, so if you had one thing that you could change about Keble, what would you change and why?
Hmm. Um, that's such a good question. I think I don't know how many problems I have with Keble sort of as an administration versus the sort of individual experiences I've had with them, which have been
Okay.
shaped by sort of my own, like, particular interactions with certain students and stuff like that. And that's where problems have arisen. That's such a weird way of saying things, but a lot of the problems I've had within Keble have been um, because of individuals rather than because of sort of Keble as a whole. But I
Okay.
think um, what should Keble do better? Do you mean Keble as a sort of JCR, or Keble as an administrative sort of college, like for the students to change or for the administration to change?
Well, it could literally be either. I mean, it could range from anything to do with accommodation, but your accommodation seems to be great, food, or the way that Keble as an administration treats certain groups of people in the college, or it could also be in the JCR, like something that you really would like to see that could change. Like if there was one thing that you could change the most, because you've spoken about it, with arts and with LGBTQ plus representation, but like what is your
Yeah.
priority? Like,
What's
if
my
you could pick
priority?
one thing.
Well, I'm planning to change things in my role. Like this sounds like I'm doing a campaign speech, but the things that I want to change and the things that I am going to change are quite different. So the things that I'm going to change, I'm going to try and put more art in place. I'm going to try and build a college magazine. I'm going to try and build, you know, a community within Keble that, you know, gets to know each other and is with between years and supports each other from like a queer perspective. And they're the things that like me as an individual, I don't know how to speak, but
Yeah,
me as an individual I'm gonna try and do those things. But the things that I think Keble needs to change, I think this is not Keble specific. I think it's Oxford in general, but I think they need to start being a bit more honest about their admissions. This is a bit of a curveball, but I think because a lot of the time they can frame things to look like they've got, you know, more BAME students than they actually have, or they can frame things like to say that they've got, you know, more students from state schools than they have, and they frame it in a way that's like, oh well, this person went to a grammar school, I think, but then they, of course, then therefore they go to a state school. But I think they need to be more honest about, oh, you know, oh yeah, we have 66% state school, I don't know the statistic, but actually 30% of those are from grammar school, and only blank percent of the population go to grammar schools. And oh yeah, we have 20% BAME, but only, you know, 1% of these are, you know, black students from the UK. I think the university needs to stop saying how amazing it is and stop being like, oh well, we're so much better than we used to be. I think it needs to be honest about the failings that it has and stop trying to pretend that it's better than it actually is in terms of sort of diversity and inclusivity, because I think a lot of the statistics that they provide make it seem like, oh well, if, you know, blank percent are from state schools, that means it's going to be like this. But like, I don't know, like some of my closest friends didn't go to sort of state schools in the way I've seen them. They went to ones in, you know, quite affluent areas, or they went to grammar schools, or they went to, you know, blank kind of schools. But I think they need to be a bit more in depth about their statistics and their access, because I think that if they're sort of honest with the public about that, then I hope that there would be more pressure to be like, oh well, actually, like only 10% of students there are from state comprehensives, etc., etc. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think that's something that does need to happen on an Oxford level.
definitely. I agree. And also, like, for me, one thing that really irked me was I didn't know what a public school was before I came to Oxford. And so, like, public school compared to a private school. So, you know, like these
I don't
really
even know what this
fancy.
is.
So, like, public schools are like, you know, the really, really fancy private schools,
Mm.
like the whole London private school network.
Right, right, right.
One thing that I kind of found really difficult when I first
Mm.
arrived to like I just didn't realize it was a thing. Like I
Yeah,
had no
yeah,
idea. And so like it was almost like people from private schools were like that, like it was kind of discounted because they didn't go to public schools, because it's such a
yes,
percentage of people go to public schools from
yeah.
it
That's
was
so
crazy.
true.
And like to have
Mm.
this network of people who like sixth formers who knew like 70 people in their year that
Mm.
were at Oxford was just mind boggling to me.
Yeah, I
And
know.
yeah, I don't know. I just kind of wish I'd known that. Uh,
Mm.
and I think that's maybe why I personally got such a shock when
Yeah,
I went there, because I really didn't know. And also, you know, they say also maybe like we have more people who go to state schools than we do to private schools, but really that when you're actually there, you realize that private school, like having half of the population actually from private schools,
yeah.
that's still an insane amount of
I
people.
know, I know. It's because it's like I could probably count on one hand the people that I've met from a private school before I got to Oxford, and now it's like every, you know, second person, and it's just, it's like when you see the statistics and you're like, oh well, like there are still technically more state school students, but it's like when it's like only like 7 to 9% of the population is privately educated at A level, and it's still almost half. It's like it's a very alarming system, and I think they do need to be more aware of that, you know.
Yeah, I do think that, you know, having access officers at most colleges now is such a brilliant thing. And I do think that access schemes are really improving. Like, I personally am doing this internship kind of because of that,
Mm,
because I want more student experiences out there.
mm.
That just helps with college choice. It encourages more people to, I don't know, normalize Oxford in a way. Like, your student experience seems, I don't know, like just you're from like a normal background. you know what I mean?
Mm.
It's those kind of things, but I just think, yeah, that's definitely a university problem, and I agree with you 100% on that level. But yeah, it's difficult to kind of draw the line, like how good is one college over the other, those different types of things. So yeah. Okay, this brings me on to my last question. So what would you say is your favorite thing about Keble College?
That's so difficult. I don't know. I think this is a bit corny, but like the people, because I think regardless of like, you know, certain individuals that like don't have the same experience as me or I've like not gone on with, like in general, like I think Keble, because it's such a big college, there are just so many types of people. Like there's such a mix of people. Like I've met people who I've not got anything in common with and have had completely different life experiences to me, and people that have lived in, you know, 5 different countries, and I've lived in, you know, the same house in Leeds for my entire life. Like there are so many people that have such interesting and different experiences to me, and it's really like refreshing. And I think honestly it's just such a big welcoming community. Like in general, like there is a space for everyone to exist there. Like, you know, regardless of like who you are, where you're coming from, whether you're coming from Eton or whether you're coming from, you know, like a state comp in Leeds, like there is a space for you there.
Yeah.
And like when I sort of showed up, I was like, oh my God, like there are so many people here that I have nothing in common with, and like they see me in a way that I've like never seen myself before, because they've probably not met people like me and I've not met people like them. But when you sort of like cross that, like sort of jumping into the deep end of coming to Oxford and realizing there are a lot of people that are very different to you, like you get past those differences and you realize that, you know, most people you have a lot in common with, and you can still build relationships with people. Like this is such a stupid point, but it's like, because I honestly thought I was going to go to Oxford and people were going to like ice me out for like not having gone to private school, but it's just not like that. And I have really great relationships with people from similar backgrounds to me, and really great relationships with people from like completely polar opposite backgrounds to me. And I think it's really possible to have that kind of like Oxford stereotype, but not everyone that is, you know, an Oxford stereotype is like someone that will never want to be friends with you. Like these people are still people, and like, you know, you can build relationships with anyone at Oxford because like everyone's just interested in you and what you're interested in, and everyone there is just so passionate, and most people are just really friendly and they don't really care about where you're from.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of one thing that I have to say with this, is that although, you know, we were talking about like this whole private school, public school thing, at the end of the day, I think almost all of the people I know at Oxford, I actually like. I do agree with you. I think they are massively like friendly people. Like, I think that the stereotypes that come with, you know, a private school or a public school person doesn't really exist as much. The only disadvantage to me is that a lot of them knew each other before. That's one thing I would point out. But that being said, I think I totally agree with you. Like, it is refreshing in a way to be surrounded by so many different people. It really pushes you to, like, I don't know, yeah, make friends outside of your comfort zone. And yeah, they are all nice, really. At the end of the day, the majority of them. You'll meet a few who aren't, but that's still the minority.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Maia, for your insight today.
No, thank you so much. It's been lovely chatting.
Yeah, it's been so refreshing to have I don't know, a point of view. Like, you literally do the same subject as me.
We're both from, you know, the north, we both do English.
Yeah, and we both literally live down the road from each other in Oxford. St Andrews is really close. But yeah, thanks so much for your time today.